Shavua Tov to everyone, and welcome again. Welcome back to our Shiur in Melachim. We are in Melachim perek Yutet 19. 19 Pasuk Aleph, a brand new perek. So I'm going to go back, like I always try to do, a bit of what we learned last week. Last week we finished perek Yutet, a whopping, a really important perek, the 18th chapter, Lo Stam Chai, 18 Chai, because Eliyahu Hanavi was trying to be Mechayeh, the Emunah Bakadosh Baruch Hu, on Hara Carmel, right in front of all of the Nevi'ei HaBaal, the Nevi'im of Yisrael and others. And we ended where he succeeded in proving, of course, there was no shadow of doubt on our side, that Hashem Hu Elokim. And at the end of Hara Carmel, everyone, all of the people there were exclaiming together like one, Achdut, Hashem Hu Elokim. That's how we ended the last perek. And we also discussed a little bit about tapping a little bit more into the depth of Eliyahu Hanavi's character. First of all, he's mentioned the Navi, unlike before, and furthermore, we saw that he has a little bit of many of our leaders in him, right? We saw that he has a little bit of Abram in him, a little bit of Moshe, some of Yosef because of the famine, right? Because of the Ra'av, how he was saving the world, or that we knew the area, the region, by bringing down rain, which was saving from the drought, similar to what Yosef did. We saw there was really a little bit of Yaakov in him. We saw there's a little bit of many manigim in him, and the reason is because he was trying to incorporate all of their leadership in order to be mechayeh, to bring back Am Yisrael to Torah Yisrael and Torah v'halacha. And we ended with him running with another nace running in front of the chariot of Achav, and how it seems that it's all good. Everything worked out. Am Yisrael believes in God. Achav believes in God. So much so that he had a seudat hodaya at the end of Har Carmel, and to make things even better, like Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, who we mentioned that Eliyahu is very similar to, possibly even is the same person. Such a kanai, he goes and he literally kills all of the Nevi'im, all the Nevi'ei Baal. That's how we ended last week's perek. This week, we're going to continue mamash from that point. So, what does every good husband do at the end of the day? He goes back and tells his wife everything that happened to him. So that's what Achav does. He goes back to his palace, and the first thing he does is he tells Izebel everything that just happened. Let's read perek Yutet, Pasuk Aleph. ויגד אחאב לאיזבל את כל אשר עשה אליהו, ואת כל אשר הרג את כל הנביאים בחרב. So if we thought that Achav was turning around, from the first pasuk, there's so many details to tell us a different story. First of all, he says Eliyahu. He doesn't say Eliyahu Hanavi. He just says Eliyahu, another person. Whereas the Nevi'im, he calls them, the Baal, he calls them Nevi'im, Mamash. And the emphasis is not about what Hashem did. It's not about bringing down fire, but it's rather what Eliyahu did, emphasizing on killing all the Nevi'im, which means basically he's bringing all the bad and nothing good. So he did not learn his lesson, and I can understand why. He either is afraid of his wife, Izebel. She controls, she's the one who wears the pants in the family. She's the one who is more loud, she's the one who's got the charisma, the character. Whereas Achav just follows orders, and therefore, when he's with Eliyahu, he believes in God. But when he goes back to Izebel, he believes whatever Izebel believes in. He's very weak. He's a weak character from the sense of his belief system, and therefore he formulates his the story that he delivers to Isabel in a way where she will understand we have to get rid of this Eliyahu. He is no good to our belief. He's just no good, and that's really what happens. Pasuk Bet changes everything forever. Vatishlach Isabel malach el Eliyahu limor ko yaasun Elohim v'cho yosifun ki chaet machar asim et nafshecha kenefesh achad mehem. So Achav tells Isabel everything that Eliyahu had done. He killed all of the prophets. So Isabel sends a messenger to Eliyahu, and this messenger says, I'll deal with God, leave it to me, either way, be it ever severely. If by this time tomorrow, I do not make your life like the ones that you killed, meaning I'm going to kill you tomorrow. So the first thing that I ask is, first of all, why is she telling Eliyahu Hanavi that she's about to kill him? Like, why not surprise him? That would be the tactical, strategic way to get rid of a prophet, especially Eliyahu. I mean, Achav has been trying this forever. We know that. That's why he had to run away, and that's why Hashem had to save him way back when we learned perek Yud Zayin. So why does she think that if she tells Eliyahu that she's going to kill him, that he's not going to run away? Of course he's going to run away. So why is she telling him, informing him of what she wants to do? So the possible answer is, I think, the simplest answer, and that is, I think deep down, she probably heard of everything that transpired. She probably heard of what Eliyahu did, or more, she heard what Hashem did, so she has fear. She actually does fear Eliyahu. But, as I always say in all of my shiurim, there's never a coincidence. We just read Parashat Va'era. And in Parashat Va'era, what does Paro say? I don't believe in God. I don't know who he is. I'm not going to accept him at all, even though miracles are being done right before his eyes. Makadam, Tzfardea, Kinim, Arov, Dever, Shchin. It doesn't move Paro. The same thing here. It doesn't move Isabel, even though she heard. She probably saw the lights of delight and spirituality coming out of all these people, and the fact that she heard that Eliyahu single-handedly demolished and killed all of his Nivim, she must know that he's the real deal. That he's the real deal. Yet, like all Reshaim, like all evil people, like all Paros and Isabels, she cannot bring herself to actually admit. So therefore, though she fears Eliyahu, she wants everybody else out there to know, I'm going to get rid of Eliyahu because I'm going to still believe in my belief system, which is Nevi'ei Habal. So what does Eliyahu do? Like before, he has to run away. He's afraid. En somchim al hanes. He could have stayed to say, look, Hashem is behind me, but en somchim al hanes. We're not supposed to smoke on the nes. So he therefore runs away. Pasuk Gimel. Vayar, we could say Vayira too. He's Vayar, Vayakom, Vayelech el nafsho. Vayavo be'er sheva asher lihuda. Vayanach et na'aro sham. So Eliyahu Hanavi is afraid. He runs for his, to save his life. And he goes to Beersheba in Yehuda, in Judea, and he leaves his servant over there. Why does he go to Yehuda? Because that's not Achav's territory. He's running to a territory that Achav's hands and Isabel cannot get there. I always asked, ever since I was, I remember, learning this, why did he not escape to Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh? Why did Eliyahu go to Yerushalayim, to Beit HaMikdash? Out of all the places, you think that's the place that Eliyahu will go to, will flee to another brother's place, right? Yehuda, and to Beit HaMikdash, that's the place to go. But he doesn't go there. He just goes to Beersheba, to Yehuda. So the only thing I can think of is that he is fixated on Mamlechet Yisrael, and he knows that Mamlechet Yehuda is taken care of. Asa and later on Yehoshaphat, they're good kings. They eradicated the Baal, they eradicated the Asherah. They're living a good life, at least they're trying to. They don't need Eliyahu Hanavi. And maybe Eliyahu also realizes that he doesn't want to tilt anything, take anything away from the king of Yehuda. Maybe if he comes in, all of a sudden, might take away from the king. So therefore, he runs to Yehuda, he runs to Beersheba, he runs away just so that Achav and Izebel can't reach. What we're going to see today, and I'm going to show you a PowerPoint very soon, is a comparison between Eliyahu and Moshe Rabbeinu, so much that the Ketuvim in themselves are alive, both in Har Sinai and here with Eliyahu Hanavi. The whole idea of Har Hashem. We also mentioned many times, I said this last week, that he's very much like other of our manhigim. So here too, if you notice in the Psukim we just read, in Pasuk Gimel, it says, Vayar, Vayakom, Vayelech el nafsho, and then what does he do? Vayanach et na'aro sham. Who does that remind you of? Who is Vayar, Vayakom, Vayar et hamakom meirachok? Who is that? Avraham Avinu. Vayar, what does he do? He says, Vayomer el na'arav shivu lachem po. So same thing, Eliyahu is seeing Vayar or Vayira, fear, it's a play on words, and then he leaves his Nar Sham because he is elevating himself. So we know what's about to happen, what's about to transpire. He is about to elevate himself to the Ma'amad that Avraham was in Akedat Yitzchak, and that Moshe Rabbeinu was the Ma'amad Har Sinai. We're going to see in the Ketuvim mamash, a comparison of the words themselves. We did it a lot in Sefer Shmuel, if you recall, many times, and we're going to do that here as well with Moshe Rabbeinu and Eliyahu. So let's continue. Pasuk Daled 4. So where is he going to go from Beersheba? So v'hualach b'midbar derech yom vayavo vayeshev tachat rotem אחד, וישאל את נפשו למות. יונה, think of Yonah הנביא, ויאמר, רב אתה, קח נפשי, כי לא טוב אנוכי מאבותיי. So if we said he's like Avram, he's like Moshe, he's like Yaakov, he's like Yosef, like Shimshon. Remember we said that he's so strong, he's also like Yonah. There's a reason why he's so mysterious. He's really made up of so many traits of all these manhigim. And we just saw Yonah too, Mamash, with the Kikayon, if you remember. He says to Hashem, it's not worth living. That's exactly what Eliyahu is doing here too. Ki lo tov anochi me'avotai, but he's also complaining to Hashem just like Yonah did. What does it mean? Lo tov anochi me'avotai. So he himself, he goes a day's journey into the wilderness, and he came to a rotem, a retama, some kind of desert bush. He sits down under this bush, just like Yonah did, and he prays to Hashem that he might die. I have had enough, Hashem, he says, take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors. Meaning that I'm not doing my job. I've not succeeded in doing my job. Which is very puzzling because we just ended last perek by saying he did do his job. He mamash was able to bring all of Am Yisrael to say Hashem hu Elokim, like we do on Yom Kippurim. So what is going on here? What does he do? Pasuk Hey, Vayishkav Vayishan tachat rotem echad, v'hinei ze malach nogea bo, vayomer lo kum echol. So he lies down under this bush, and then all of a sudden a malach comes out, like with Avraham Avinu, saving Yitzchak. A malach comes out, nogea bo, touches him, and wakes him up, and says to him, get up and eat. Get up and eat. Is there a celebration to do here? No. Rather, he doesn't want to live anymore. And if you recall with Yonah and Avi, the same exact thing happened as well. כאשר חסת על הכיקיון. So here too, he's under this rotem. Hashem wakes him up and says, I want you to eat. Because everything that you have, I'm giving you. You are a shaliach. You don't just sit down and give up. Leaders don't give up. Leaders fight until the end. Like Moshe Rabbeinu did. He always fought for Am Yisrael. Even when they did not deserve it. Moshe Rabbeinu fought for Am Yisrael. So if we're going to compare Eliyahu to Moshe, then Hashem has to wake him up and say, you don't give up. No giving up here. You have to get up and do what you can to save Am Yisrael. Pasuk Vav. So he looks around. Vayabet. V'hinei merashotav ugat retzafim v'tzapachat mayim. So those who know Tanakh, another comparison to Yaakov Avinu. What does he see? Ha'avanim asher sam merashotav. Right? Also the word merashotav, but here it's not avanim, it's ugot, retzafim, vetzapachat mayim. We'll see what that is in a minute. Vayochal, vayesht, vayashov, vayishkav. So he looks around and he sees by his head, just like Yaakov Avinu, there was some bread, baked bread over some hot coals, a jar of water. Amazing miracles going on here. He ate, drank, and then he lays down. He goes and he lies down again. What the miracle? Let's just think of who this Eliyahu Navi is. Such amazing miracles are happening for him at all times. He brings a drought like that when he wants to. Hashem is with him, brings down a korban like that when he wants it to. And here too, he's hungry, he's thirsty. Hashem just, brings some baked bread. It's already made for him. He doesn't have to do anything for it. It's on the coals. There's a jar of water waiting for him. Such a miracle. He was some Navi. But there's a message here. He goes to sleep. Because Nevi'im, all Nevi'im, besides Moshe Rabbeinu, when Hashem is mitgalev, when Hashem reveals himself, it's through the chalom. So we're seeing, though Eliyahu is similar to Moshe Rabbeinu, like the Rambam said, no one really is like Moshe Rabbeinu. Either way, Pasuk Zayin, Vayashov malach Adonai shenit, Vayigabo vayomer kum echol, kirav mimecha hadarech. So Pasuk Zayin, after he goes to sleep again, wakes him up, angel wakes him up, second time, touches him again and says, get up and eat because of your journey. The journey is going to be a long journey. Too much for you. You need to eat. You need energy. You need to get up, eat. Pasuk Chet. Think of what you know about Moshe Rabbeinu. Vayakom, vayachol, vayakom, vayochal, vayishteh. Vayelech bekoach ha'achila hahi 40 yom ve40 layla ad har ha'elohim Chorev. So he eats, he gets up. He needed to eat because of his long journey. And we're now told that his long journey is gonna last how long? 40 days and 40 nights. He's not going to be eating those 40 days and 48 nights. Just like whom? Moshe Rabbeinu. Exactly, Moshe Rabbeinu. Didn't eat. Lechem lo achal. Mayim lo shata 40 yom. The comparison is so clear that the Baal Sefer Melachim is comparing Moshe and Eliyahu. I'll show you soon in the Psukim, both in Shmot and in Melachim, how the words are almost identical as well.
But he does say Bekoach Achila because he's still not Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu did not have Bekoach Achila. He was a Malach.
Okay, so we're going to see, even with the comparisons, that in every point, Moshe has one, as we say in slang, one up. he has one. He's still better than Eliyahu, but there's definitely a comparison between Moshe and Eliyahu. But when we have psukim in Torah, we say, as we mentioned with Shmuel is like Aaron and Moshe. We don't say Eliyahu is like Aaron and Moshe. There's a reason for it, which we're going to see towards the end of the perek, which is a little sad, but seems to be true. So, Pasuk Tet. right? He gets up, he eats, he drinks in Pasuk Chet, and he goes to Har Horeb, which, by the way, Har Horeb is what? Har Sinai. Har Horeb is Har Sinai. So it took him from Beersheba to walk all the way down to Har Sinai. Where is Har Sinai? So a lot of people say it's Jabal Musa, right? Har Moshe. Nobody really knows. But either way, he goes to Har Horeb, which is Har Sinai, the same exact mountain that Moshe received the Torah. That is where Eliyahu is going to. 40 days, 40 nights. He's not going to be eating during this time. Very similar to Moshe Rabbeinu. Pasuk Tet. Vayavo sham el hame'ara, vayalen sham. V'hinei devar Adonai elav, vayomer lo, ma lechafo Eliyahu. So Eliyahu goes down into a cave. He spends the night in this cave. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes down and says, what are you doing here, Eliyahu? What do you mean, what are you doing here? You told me to come here, did you not? But we know that in Nivu'ah, one of the ways HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitgaleh, reveals himself, is always new. The same way with the sneh. Also, what happens? He has to, in the Parashat Shmot, he has to make Moshe aware of his presence. And that's why we have the sneh. So here too, in this me'ara, Hashem is not saying, Shal ne'alecha me'al raglecha, but he's making him aware that this is an area, a place of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what he says, right? So that's what he says. Pasuk Yud. Soon we're going to make something more of this. Pasuk Yud. How does Eliyahu respond to this great question? What are you doing, Eliyahu? Now is Eliyahu's chance to spill his guts, to tell Hashem everything that he's feeling, everything that's going on. Vayomer, and he responds, Kano kineti ladonai Elohei tzevaot. Ki azvu beritecha bnei Yisrael et mizbechotecha harasu ve'et neviecha hargu becharev. Vayivater ani levadi. Vayivakshu et nafshi lekachta. So Eliyahu replies and he says, look, I have been very zealous for you, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Israelites, Am Yisrael, they've rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and they put prophets to death. The good prophets, those 50 that were put in one me'ara, one cave, and the 50 in the other, they killed them off. That's why he believes he's the only one left. I'm the only one left, he says. And now they're all trying to kill me. He's in desperation. But the question I have on this pasuk is this really what happened? I mean, we just ended last chapter with the exact opposite, where they're all exclaiming, Hashem hu Elokim. That's Chazara b'tshuva. So why is Eliyahu Hanavi complaining here? So this is a real problem. Some Parshanim basically say, En mukdam u'meuchar b'Torah, including in the Nevi'im, and they basically say that this whole episode basically comes before Har HaKarmel. After he gets the energy from HaKadosh Baruch Hu here, then he could go travel to Har HaKarmel and perform the miracles, and that's when Am Yisrael chozer b'tshuva. But other Parshanim, and I think these Parshanim are, in my opinion, I agree more with these Parshanim. They say no. Really, what's happening here is that all of those people were doing basically mas sfatayim, lip service, just like Izebel did. Basically, it means very simply that though they said Hashem hu Elokim, they said it because they were in the presence of Eliyahu Hanavi. And they were afraid of him, of his mastery, of being able to manipulate the clouds, manipulate the skies, to bring down rain, to bring down fire. But embedded deep down in their hearts, they still didn't want to accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rishut. And Eliyahu knows that. He knows that a miracle by itself can't really do the job. Naaseh v'nishma doesn't really work, Eliyahu Hanavi is basically saying. It has to be nishma v'naaseh. He remembers what happened way back when Moshe Rabbeinu gave the Torah. I mean, not 40 days later, Egel Hazav. The same thing here. 40 days later, after they all exclaimed Hashem Hu Elokim, he knows there's another Egel again going on. Didn't really accept it. He doesn't hear of the other Nevi'im. Where are they? What's going on? Eliyahu believes that he's still alone. He believes that his mission failed. He truly believes that he was unsuccessful. And now he's left alone. And now Izebel and everyone else is trying to hunt him down. And now he's spilling out his innermost emotions to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, saying, I don't know what to do. I failed. Pasuk Yud Aleph is HaKadosh Baruch Hu answering Eliyahu. Vayomer, Tzeh ve'amadeta bahar לפני אדוני, והנה אדוני עובר ברוח גדולה וחזק, מפרק הרים ומשבר סלעים לפני אדוני, לא ברוח אדוני, ואחר הרוח רעש, לא ברעש אדוני, ואחר הרעש אש, לא באש אדוני, ואחר האש כל דממה דקה. Hashem says go to Eliyahu, go out, stand on the mountain in the presence of me, of Hashem, for I'm about to pass by you. Again, do you remember who that's like? Moshe Rabbeinu. Then a great, powerful wind tore the mountains apart, shattered the rocks before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But Hashem wasn't in the wind. After the wind passed by, there was an earthquake. That's what a rash adama, as we say, an earthquake. The earth was shattering. But Hashem wasn't in the earthquake. And after that came fire, but Hashem wasn't in the fire. And after all of this happened, a whisper, kol demama daka, similar to what happened in Har Sinai. Kolot, re'amim, uvrakim. Then finally we hear Anochi Hashem. The comparison is so obvious of what's happening here. We'll go over it in a minute. Yud Gimel. Vayhi kishmoa Eliyahu, when he sees what's going on and he hears this dmamadaka, he hears the silence. Vayalet panav be'adarto, he covers his face immediately because Lo yirani adam v'chai, just like with Moshe. Vayetze, vayamod petach ha'me'ara, v'hinei elav kol, vayomer, ma lecha fo Eliyahu. Seems like deja vu, but we'll explain this deja vu in a minute. Let's just go back in English. Immediately after this earthquake and the silence of Hashem, when Eliyahu Hanavi hears this, he pulls his cloak over his face, like I said before, and he goes out of this me'ara, and he stands right in front of the entrance of this cave, and then a voice again comes to him and says, what are you doing here, Eliyahu? Hashem, again, just like before, when Hashem asked him, why are you here? He's asking him again. And my question is, why is he asking him again? Well, the answer will be seen in Pasuk Yud Daled. Pasuk Yud Daled. How does Eliyahu Hanavi answer Hashem? You're not going to believe this. But his answer is identical to the answer he gave before. Pasuk Yud Daled is just like Pasuk Yud. Go back to Yud, and let's read Pasuk Yud Dalet together. Vayomer, kano kineti la'Adonai Elohei tzvaot, ki azvu beritcha bnei Yisrael et mizbechotecha harasu, ואת נביאיך הרגו בחרב, ויוותר אני לבדי, ויבקשו את נפשי לקחת. The same exact answer. My kids are still young. So the way I mechanech my kids, I assume, is a little bit different than how you mechanech your kids today. Chinuch never stops, so I'm told by my parents. But I know that when my kids were younger and we asked them a question and they gave us an answer and we did not like their answer, and we asked them the same question differently, we expected them to say something different. Not the same exact sentence. Eliyahu was saying the exact sentence, word for word. Yachol liot. You know what? I'll give the answer in a minute. I don't want to ruin it because I think the answer, you'll all get to the answer in a second. But Hashem answers in Pasuk Tetvav, after Eliyahu gives the same exact answer he gave before, Hashem says to him in Pasuk Tetvav, Vayomer Adonai elav, lech shuv ledarkecha midbar Damasek, go back to the midbar Damasek, uvata umashachta et Chazael lemelech Aram. I want you to anoint Chazael to be the king of Aram, ve'et Yehu ben Nimshi timshach lemelech al Yisrael. No more Achav. There's going to be a new king that you will anoint, and Elisha ben Shaphat me'avel mechola timshach lenavi tachtecha, and you're going to anoint a new Navi who will take your place. Ve'aya nimlat mecherev Chazael yamit Yehu. All of those evildoers, all of those adulters. Ve'aya nimlat Chazael, the new king of Aram, will kill. If they escape the hands and the claws of Chazael, then Yehu will kill him. And if they escape Yehu, Elisha will kill them. And I will leave you with 7,000 people. All those 7,000 that were actually righteous, who did not ever bow down to the Baal, and all those who never worshipped other gods. I'm just going to reiterate English the way I wrote it down here. So Hashem answers Eliyahu. After Eliyahu gives the same exact answer, Hashem answers and says, go back the way you came, go to the desert of Damascus, and when you get there, anoint Chazael king over Aram, anoint Yehu, the son of Nimshi, he will be the king over Israel instead of Achav, anoint Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who will take your position, your job, he will succeed you as a prophet, and therefore Yehu will put to death all those who escaped the sword of Chazael, and Elisha will put to death all those who escaped the sword of Yehu. Yet, he says, I reserve 7,000 of Israel's, all those whose knees have not bowed down to the Baal, and whose mouth have not kissed him. Basically, Hashem...
Is Aram
up north?
Yeah,
North.
is it the kingdom of Israel?
No, it's north of.
No, Aram is north Damascus.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What's happening here? I'll recap, and then you can give the answer, because to me, it's a very obvious answer what's going on here. So Eliyahu has to run away from Yisrael, because Yisrael wants to kill him for killing all the Nevi'im. Of course, Achav is no good. He's not helping in anything. He's not showing the emunah of Hashem. The way he formulated the entire story to Yisrael shows that he's weak. He's just going ahead with his own wife. I can understand that, but he's very weak. And Eliyahu runs away. In the beginning, he says, I failed. I didn't do my job properly. I want to die. And Hashem says, what are you talking about? You have a mission to follow. I am the one who will determine what your mission is going to be. Wake up. I'm going to rejuvenate you. I'm going to give you energy. I'm going to jumpstart your nevuah, just like I did with Moshe Rabbeinu. And he really brings it alive, and he makes him really live the way Moshe lived, so he can realize what a great mission. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu did not want the shlichut in the beginning. He says, 4 times. Anuchi aral sfatayim, shlach na bi'at tishlach, lo adoni. He says it so many times. And Hashem says, look, I'm the one who chooses you. You can't choose. A mission is what I give you. Everyone, we all have a mission in life. This is your mission, Eliyahu. You don't want it? Too bad. Get up, eat. You're about to walk 40 days and 40 nights because I'm going to treat you like I treated Moshe Rabbeinu, who was my ro'eh, who was the one who really saved Am Yisrael from Mitzrayim, gave them the Torah. You too, Eliyahu, you have a mission to do. You can't give up now. So he says, okay, fine. He eats, he walks 40 days and 40 nights. He gets to Har Chorev, the same exact mountain that Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah at. And Hashem reveals himself again to him. And he shows him Har Sinai shaking. He shows him fire, earthquakes. And then he asks him the same exact question again. Why are you here? Expecting to hear Eliyahu say what? I'm here to save Am Yisrael. I'm here to do my job, but that's not what Eliyahu Hanavi says. Eliyahu Hanavi, unfortunately, and I say this with Ke'ev Gadol, just says everything he said before he witnessed Hashem in Har Sinai. Before he witnessed Hashem, he says, Kano kineti la Hashem. I am zealous for you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but I failed. Even after Hashem reveals himself at Har Sinai to Eliyahu, Eliyahu doesn't change. He says the same thing, I have failed. So then Hashem realizes, Eliyahu, you are no longer fit for this mission. I'm taking away your koach, I'm taking away your nevuah, and I'm giving it over to others. I'm going to give it over to Melech Aram, I'm going to give it to Yehu, and I'm going to give it to Elisha, who will be a prophet who will succeed you. You are no longer, you can't. You're depressed. You're no longer interested. I just showed you Har Sinai. I just showed you earthquakes and fire and kol d'mama daka. Yet your answer is the same exact answer that you gave me before I showed you Har Sinai, which only means you are not fit to continue the mission of bringing back Am Yisrael to tshuva. That's something that others need to do. And you are going to anoint them so that they can succeed. We're learning a lot about Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu Hanavi is really up there. I mean, his koach, his nevuah, the fact that he can bring upon a drought on the entire world, something that no other Navi was able to do, and he does it without flinching. And he's on the level of Moshe, and I'll show you in a second, the psukim that no other Navi got to, not even Shmuel. He witnessed Har Sinai, but it didn't change Eliyahu. You see, Eliyahu Hanavi is still, he's not mysterious. He's just as locked into his ways. He's a true Kana'i. He's alone. Unfortunately, like Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. He's working alone. He cannot succeed when he doesn't believe enough in Am Yisrael.
I think that what Kadosh Baruch Hu is trying to tell him is the kana'ut is not good. Or to do too much kana'ut is not good. And he tried to get him out of it, and he tried to show him kol d'mama daka, which is, by the way, the sound of silence in Hebrew. And he didn't catch it. He didn't get it, and he went back. He was kana'i. He wouldn't hear. He wouldn't. So forget it. Let someone else do it.
Nachon, that's exactly correct. Because a kana'i who seeks justice, who seeks emet, is midat din, not midat rachamim. We know, based on Breshit 1 and Breshit 2, Hashem created the world with midat adin, but the world cannot survive on midat adin. We needed midat rachamim. Eliyahu Hanavi is din, and now we can understand why, when we first met him, when we first had a glimpse of Eliyahu Hanavi, the first thing that he does is din. a drought without any question, because that is what Am Yisrael and the world deserves. But what they need is midat rachamim. They need something that Eliyahu can't give, because even Eliyahu Navi, when he sees the koach of Hashem, he's still ish emet, and therefore he no longer can continue his mission. I would like to show you something really amazing of the hashva, the comparison of the psukim between Eliyahu Hanavi and Moshe, to show you how great Eliyahu really is. So I'm just going to take a second to share my screen. Okay. So I hope you can see my screen. So the first hashva is basically, I discussed this, I went through this when I was reading the psukim, but I want us to see the actual psukim. So Eliyahu Hanavi is on the right, and Moshe Rabbeinu is on the left. So you can see, we just read, Vayakom Vayochal Vayishteh, Vayelech bekoach ha'achila 40 yom ו40 laila al har Elohim chorev. That's what we read about Eliyahu Hanavi, and we see the same thing, mamash, with Moshe Rabbeinu. Vayavo Moshe betoch ha'anan, Vayal el hahar, Vayi Moshe bahar 40 yom ו40 and then also here, Lechem lo achal umayim lo shata, 40 days and 40 nights. So the comparison is done for a reason, because Eliyahu is being given the chance to be another Moshe, to be another giver of the Torah. The person that did it before that was Shmuel Hanavi, after Shiloh. And now Eliyahu has been given the chance to do that, but he doesn't succeed. The next comparison is when we read, Vayavo sham el ha'me'ara, Vayalen sham v'hinei dvar Adonai elav, vayomer lo ma lecha po Eliyahu. The same thing. Vayomer Adonai, hinei makom iti v'nitzavta al atzur. Here he's in the me'ara, Vayalen sham, here v'nitzavta al atzur. Very similar. צא ועמדת בהר לפני השם, והנה השם עובר, והיה בעבור כבודי, ושמתיך בנקרת הצור, וסקותי כפי עליך עד עוברי. Right? This is when we saw that Eliyahu Hanavi covered himself with the glima, with the aderet, also with Moshe Rabbeinu in the beginning. Hashem puts his kaf over Moshe Rabbeinu because Moshe is not allowed to see Hashem. The same thing that happens here with Eliyahu Hanavi.
I have the same questions I'm going to ask him, and I didn't get a satisfactory answer.
I apologize. I'm just muting everyone. I apologize. The next one, here. So we said this, Vayalet panav adarto, v'sakoti kapi alecha ad ovri. But the difference is that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, at least a glimpse. V'asirotit kapi, it says over, v'asiroti et kapi, v'ra'ita et achorai ufanai lo yirau. So Moshe is still on one level above Eliyahu Hanavi, but we see it's uncanny. We see that the connection between Eliyahu Hanavi and Moshe is so clear. The same thing when it comes to Har Sinai. We just read how he was given another Har Sinai, yet not with all of Am Yisrael lemargelot hahar. But look at the psukim. ויאמר צא ועמדת בהר לפני אדוני והנה אדוני עובר ברוח גדולה וחזק מפרק הרים משבר סלעים etc. etc. And then down here Eish, Rash, Kol. This is on the left is what we saw at Har Sinai. והר סיני עשן כולו מפני אשר ירד עליו אדוני באש ויעל עשנו כאשן. Vayecherad kol hahar me'od. Vayecherad, it was an earthquake. So we see really the psukim are showing us he was given a chance. And when Hashem asked him in pasuk tetvav, at the end of pasuk Yud Gimel, Ma lecha po Eliyahu, he was waiting to hear another Moshe Rabbeinu, a leader that will give his all no matter what. But there's a difference between Eliyahu and Moshe. It's not a question of yecholet, of ability. It's a question of character. Eliyahu was a zealot. He was, as we saw last shiur, Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, asher kinet kinati. He's a kanai. And that's why here it says twice, kano kineti la Hashem. A kanai cannot be a true leader. He's important, but he can't be a leader. That's one of the reasons why HaKadosh Baruch Hu also gave Shimon and Levi, if you remember, Yaakov Avinu, and then later on Moshe Rabbeinu, B'soda martavo nafshi. He says about Shimon and Levi. Levi proves, though, at the end that he can use that kanaut for the good of Am Yisrael, but to teach Torah, not to lead Am Yisrael. And that's really the problem here. There's one thing I want to show you that we have here, is another thing that I saw that is actually equal between the two of them. Eliyahu fails in his mission, and therefore he cannot continue. Hashem doesn't allow him to continue on his mission, and he gives it over to Melech Aram, Yehu, who will be the new king of Israel, and Elisha. Elisha was Eliyahu's servant. We'll see later on. We'll see who he is, how he comes in. But we also know Moshe Rabbeinu, at the end of his days, in a way, also when he does his chet, is proven that he's also not the leader to lead Am Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. And that's why he's not allowed to enter Eretz Yisrael. So we see, in a way, Eliyahu didn't really fail. Eliyahu just cannot continue. He did what he did in order to jumpstart everything, to rock the boat with Achav and Izebel, and possibly also Am Yisrael. But he can't continue, he can't finish it. Moshe Rabbeinu was Motzi Am Yisrael from Eretz Mitzrayim, gave them the Torah, similar to what happened now with Eliyahu, but he cannot finish it and bring them in to Eretz Yisrael. There's a leader for every tkufa. Eliyahu is a kanai. He's the kind of kanai that we need to learn from on an individual basis. But he's not the leader for the Am. He's not the leader for Am Yisrael as a collective whole, as an Am. He doesn't succeed. And that's really what Hashem is saying to us. You need a melech at the end. That's what you wanted, people. You wanted a melech. He's the one who's in charge of the Am. A Navi is in charge of the spirituality, but a Kanai cannot do that. And therefore, Hashem tells Eliyahu Hanavi, no more. You're going to have to give your job over to others. But there's light at the end. Yes, yes.
If Hashem knows all and sees all, why did he think Eliyahu would succeed in the first place? And if he did fail, and he failed, so why did Hashem make such a big deal about him and took him to heaven?
Yeah,
I never figured that out.
Look, that's a greater question to ask about everything in life, right? I mean, why does Hashem do anything? If he knows everything, why are we not just robots? Why do we even have a Bechira Chofshit? We just read in Parashat Ve'era all about freedom of choice. Why give freedom of choice if you're just going to take it away from Paro? I mean, what's the whole game? So there's a plan. The plan is for us to learn specific things from everything that we read in our Torah. It's timeless. It's not the Sefer Melachim is not just it's not a historical account to learn what happened in our history. It's to learn about leadership, to learn about types of leaders, of what we're looking for, and to learn about human nature, to show you that even when a miracle is done right before your eyes, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can convert people. It doesn't mean that people who even believe, like Eliyahu, who sees the earth shatter at Har Sinai, he can't change his character inside. He can't change who he is. There are different people are different. Yet at the end of the day, Hashem has a plan, and that plan will happen, whether we want it to happen or not. It's going to happen. But there's a process. And Hashem is saying to us, this is what I want to happen. Every leader is there and put forward for a reason. So was Achav. So is Melech Aram Chazael by Hashem. We'll meet another guy called Nebuchadnezzar, Melech Bavel, a shaliach of Hashem. who brings total destruction on Am Yisrael. But he's a shaliach of Hashem. I've said this to in my drashot many times, in my shiurim many times. Coronavirus is a shaliach of Hashem. What we're supposed to learn from it, I have no clue. All I do know is that we all have to do the best we can on a personal basis and as a nation, as a people. That's the only thing we can do. And here too, are the kings doing their due diligence? The answer is no. Achav is not doing what he's supposed to do. The Nevi'im are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Who are these 100 Nevi'im that we met? Who are they? Mihem, right? We mentioned here in Pasuk Yudalid that Eliyahu says, I'm the only one left. But we also mentioned if we don't follow the Parshanim of En Mukdamu Meuchar B'Torah in the Nevi'im as well. And we say that this did happen after Har Carmel. Where are all those 100 Nevi'im that we heard about? That Obadiah saved and then he hid them in two caves. Where are they? Why are they not doing anything? Because they're scared. You know, we have an obligation to stand for injustice. That's our job. We have a job to do in this world. We stand up for truth. We stand up for honesty. We stand up for unjust when things are not the way they should be. We're supposed to stand up for it. But a lot of us don't. We're afraid. What are they going to think about me? Or a person who stands up at work against someone else who's doing something incorrect, and he's afraid if I say something, I'll be fired. We have to stand up. Jews stand up for the belief. We stand up for what we believe in. But unfortunately, these Nevi'im are not standing up for what they believe in. They're too scared. Eliyahu is standing alone against all of these people. And like Yonah Hanavi, he's saying, I can't do this. It's just me. So maybe Hashem believes that this is the right course of action to say, you know what, you've done your tafkid. Now we need to move on to others. We need a threesome. We need to have a king of Aram right outside. We need to have Yehu, the king of Israel, and we can have a Navi. We need all those three in order to really do and make change in the region of Yisrael. But note something very interesting, which also bothers me, and it should bother you as well. Where is Mamlechet Yehuda in all of this? I mean, we have Zoom and we have phones and we have, we can, I know what's going on in Tel Aviv, more or less. I know what's going on in the Golan. I have a sister that lives in the Golan and in other places. Where is Mamlechet Yehuda in all this? We don't hear anything about them. What's going on down south in Yerushalayim with Asa and then later on with his son Yehoshaphat? As far as we know, they're good kings, following Torah Israel, fighting against evil, Korbanot in the Beit HaMikdash, learning Torah. Why are they not affecting Yisrael? Why does Eliyahu not seek help from Mamlechet Yehuda? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Parshanim don't talk about that at all. Why is there not a connection? Because there's such a disconnect, a disconnect between Mamlechet Yehuda and Mamlechet Yisrael, and it all stems from the first king we met. Well, the second king, really. We had David HaMelech first in Melachim, first perek, from Shlomo HaMelech. And then later on, Rechavam and Yerovam. Our actions, they mean something. Parents' actions mean something. We give over to our children, and our children give over to their children. That's the way Masoret works. And it's our job to realize that there are consequences to our actions. And the same thing here. Everything that is happening now, as we saw before, is Achav, Omri before that, and we had Baasha, we had others as well, all the way to Yerovam. There's something that is just not working. It's not clicking. It's ga'ava, it's kavod, it's wanting. And that goes back to Shmuel and Avi too. Avalot chazon lamoed. We know that there's a greater plan. And right now, the plan that we reached is that Hashem says, okay, Eliyahu, we need to put you to the side. You chose not to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. You chose it because maybe you can't be Moshe Rabbeinu. Nobody can be Moshe Rabbeinu. Maybe it's too much that I'm asking of you. Maybe it's impossible. But we'll have to learn a little bit more about what's going on here once we meet the other three, and we follow through with what happens next perek, which is perek kaf, which we're going to learn about Achav, some of the milchamot that he goes through, who he is, and once we learn about Achav and his milchamot, we'll go to Kerem Navot, and we have a lot more to learn before we finish. And then we learn about the kings of Yehuda. And it's not always great and dandy down in Yehuda either. We'll have to learn. So, yesh od harbe lilmod, be'ezrat Hashem. So, another shiur, and be'ezrat Hashem, we shall meet next week. As Shavua Tov, have a wonderful, wonderful week.
You explained why God does this thing, but why do the Jewish people have such reverence for Eliyahu and Havi, and we consider him the one who's going to bring the Mashiach?
So
What
here's the
about
thing.
him?
Here's the thing about Eliyahu. There's two Mashiachs. There's Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. You know, it's interesting. I gave a drasha similar to this, actually at the vort of my wedding. I got married in the week of Parashat Vaychi, when it was Ata Yoducha Achecha about Yehuda, and I asked the question, why is Yehuda chosen and not Yosef, when Yosef proved beyond any shadow of doubt that he's a good leader? And the answer is that Yosef was a leader, basically an individualist. He was a leader. He did save the world, right? But he wasn't the leader that Am Yisrael accepted. It wasn't the kind of leader that Am Yisrael was able to believe in. They needed Yosef. They needed his quality. They needed his brilliance. They needed his kishronot. But he wasn't the kind of leader shesachaf otam. He wasn't the kind of leader that was able to sweep them up and bring them and be me'achad them. That is Yehuda. Yehuda, even though he might have not had the brilliance of Yosef, he had something else. He was magnetic. People flocked to him. They wanted to be by him. Eliyahu Hanavi it could be. I'm not saying this as something that is for sure, but Yachol Yot, that Eliyahu will be that first jump of Geulah. The one that will save us from wars, the one that will save us from Umot HaGoyim, but he won't be the one to survive Am Yisrael. And he will have to be moved aside to bring Mashiach ben David that will be able to take Am Yisrael and bring us to a full Geulah. So Eliyahu Navi is the guy who is the Kanai, who is fighting for the Emet, fighting for justice, fighting for Am Yisrael. But Yehuda, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, will be the ultimate Mashiach, the ultimate king. So that's why we look up to Eliyahu, but not as the ultimate goal. He is the Sgan. He's the one who will start it. But the ultimate goal is Mashiach ben David, which is not Eliyahu Hanavi.